You're just not interesting anymore, Isabel. I need someone who turns heads, not someone buried in property contracts all day." Those were the exact words my husband, Nathan Calloway, said to me on a Tuesday evening, right after I confronted him with proof of his affair. No apology, no shame, just a cold, effortless dismissal like I was a pair of shoes that had gone out of style. I stood there, holding his old MacBook with the screen still lit up, open to a secret Facebook profile he hadn't bothered to log out of. The messages were there, dozens, between him and a woman named, well, that part doesn't matter. What mattered was the confirmation, the tone, the pictures, the dates, and the part where he said, "My wife has no idea. She still thinks I'm on a business trip. Honestly, she's too busy being boring." I felt the ground tilt beneath me, but I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I asked, calm but shaking, "Are you cheating on me, Nathan?" He didn't even blink. "Yes," he said flatly, pouring himself a glass of wine like we were discussing the weather. "And before you go into one of your dramatic courtroom-style interrogations, let me save you time. I'm divorcing you. I've already hired a lawyer. You'll be hearing from him soon. His name is Derek Linwood. Fantastic guy. Knows how to handle sensitive messes like this." A mess. That's what I had become to him. 12 years of marriage reduced to a line item on a legal to-do list. Why? I whispered. Not because I didn't already know the answer, but because some pathetic part of me still wanted to hear something. Anything human. His reply? Because I can. Because I'm successful now. Because I don't need a wife who dresses like a real estate agent and acts like a teacher. You're a liability to my image, Isabel. I'm trying to build an empire here. You don't fit. And just like that, the person I had stood beside through sleepless startup years, through failed pitches and unpaid taxes, through panic attacks and pressure, now saw me as a stain he couldn't bleach out. He left the room after that. I stayed, alone, still holding the laptop, still staring at the screen, still trying to remember if I had missed a sign, a warning, something that would have told me, "You're not safe in this love anymore." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen, replaying every moment from the last 2 years. The cold shoulders, the business trips that didn't need receipts, the sudden obsession with his appearance, the new cologne, the gym memberships, the way he never looked up when I walked into the room. And worst of all, how I had convinced myself that marriage just goes through phases. By dawn, my heartbreak had curdled into something sharper. Not rage, not revenge, clarity. I was a licensed attorney in the state of Massachusetts. I had built my own firm before I was 30. And more importantly, I had drafted the prenup. That detail hit me like a lightning bolt. Back then, Nathan insisted on it. "Just in case," he said with a smirk. But I had insisted too. My clause. My protection. It was buried on page 8 under dissolution of marriage infidelity clause. In the event of proven extramarital conduct by Mr. Calloway, Ms. Monroe shall be entitled to 50% of all business holdings accrued during the marriage. I laughed, actually laughed, because for someone who always called me the boring one, Nathan had made a spectacular mistake in underestimating just how much attention I paid to detail. I shut the laptop, stood up, and walked to the bedroom. He wasn't there, probably already off to his new life. I packed my essentials, my files, my clothes, my dignity. I left the ring, and before I locked the door behind me for good, I typed one message on his phone, just one. "I took my boring face and lawyer clothes out of your empire. You're welcome." Then I went home, not to an apartment, not to a hotel. I went back to the brownstone I'd bought in Beacon Hill when I was 26. The one Nathan always called too small and too sentimental. It was in my name, paid off, untouched, waiting. I didn't cry until I walked into the guest room and saw the stack of law textbooks I'd never gotten rid of. The ones he said made me look like a nerd, the ones that helped me build the brain he was about to regret messing with. So he wanted a divorce. He wanted his lawyer to handle me. He thought I'd go quietly, cry in silence, disappear like an embarrassed has-been. He had no idea who I was. But he would. Very soon. I didn't waste time. 2 days after walking out of that glass and chrome mausoleum Nathan called a home, I had already moved back into my brownstone and converted the study into a war room. There were folders, legal pads, digital backups, and most importantly, a copy of the prenup in pristine condition, annotated by yours truly. The funny thing was, Nathan never reread it after signing. He was so eager to show me he wasn't scared of legalese that he skimmed and scribbled his name like he was signing a birthday card. I remembered the smug look on his face as he said, "Let's just get this formality over with. I trust you." And I had trusted him, just not blindly. He thought I'd forget the clause. He thought he'd keep me so emotionally disoriented I wouldn't think straight. But I was already 10 steps ahead. The day after I confirmed the prenup's power, I sent a simple message to Derek Linwood, Nathan's fancy lawyer. It read, "Mr. Linwood, my name is Isabel Monroe. I'd like to set a meeting to discuss the divorce proceedings your client initiated. I'm available Thursday at 9 a.m. Let me know if that works." No threats, no drama, just business. That always unsettles people more than yelling. Thursday morning came quickly. I wore navy, understated, efficient, and hard to read, just like me. The cafe was 2 blocks from the courthouse, and I arrived exactly 1 minute before 9. Derek was already seated, glancing nervously at his phone, probably Googling who I was. When he saw me, his eyes flickered with confusion, then recognition, then discomfort. "Ms. Monroe," he said, rising halfway from his seat. "Yes," I replied. "Shall we?" We exchanged pleasantries, ordered coffee. He tried to project confidence. I let him. He clearly hadn't been told who I really was. After 5 minutes of legal foreplay, I leaned forward slightly and asked, "Did Nathan tell you he cheated on me?" He froze, blinked, fumbled for a response. I don't believe he mentioned that, no. "Interesting," I said, keeping my tone light. "Did he mention the prenup?" "The prenup. There's a clause. Page 8. I wrote it myself. Infidelity equals 50% business equity to the wronged spouse." His jaw clenched. I wasn't made aware of that. I figured. Nathan doesn't usually give people the full story, especially not people he's about to throw under the bus. I opened my bag and placed a folder on the table. Inside, a printed copy of the prenup, signed and notarized, along with screenshots of texts, pictures of him and his mistress on company trips labeled as board retreats, timestamps, and hotel receipts that left no room for speculation. I slid the folder across the table. He didn't speak for nearly a minute, just stared, then flipped, then sighed. "This is substantial." "Yes, it is." "MS. Monroe, if I may, you may," I said. "I had no idea I'd be dealing with someone of your caliber." "That's your client's mistake. He never took my work seriously. He said I played lawyer while he built something real." Derek's face flushed. "I apologize, professionally and personally. Don't. You're not the enemy here. But if you continue representing him without understanding the whole picture, you'll become collateral damage." I didn't have to say more. Derek understood. He promised to review the documents and speak to his client before proceeding further. I nodded, thanked him for his time, and left. The second I stepped out into the cold Boston air, I inhaled deeply. That wasn't revenge yet. That was stage setting. But oh, it was satisfying. That evening, as I settled into my reading chair with a glass of Cabernet, my phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Just 3 words. "You're unbelievable, Isabel." I smirked. "No, Nathan. I'm just well prepared." The next morning, I woke up to an email from Derek. Short, polite, and tense. "Ms. Monroe, thank you for your time yesterday. Due to unforeseen complications, I'll be withdrawing from the case. Please expect a transition notice from Mr. Calloway shortly. I let the phone drop onto the blanket and stared at the ceiling for a long moment. One down. I wasn't keeping score, but if I were, this was a clean hit. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The sound of silence was often more effective than any legal rebuttal. I just waited, and Nathan didn't disappoint. By noon, he was calling me. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the text. Pick up. We need to talk. I didn't. 2 hours later, another text. What the hell did you say to my lawyer? I considered writing back, just the truth. But it wasn't worth the energy. When he called the third time, I answered, not because I wanted to hear him, but because I wanted to watch him fall apart in real time. Nathan, I said evenly, I told you we're communicating through lawyers. You don't have a lawyer, he snapped. Oh, but I will. Just like you used to. How's that going, by the way? You sabotaged him, he hissed. I almost laughed. No, Nathan. I handed him facts. Apparently those were enough. This is war now, Isabel. You want to drag this out, ruin everything. No, I said. I want a clean, fast divorce, one that follows the prenup. You remember the prenup, right? The one you signed with your uninteresting wife. Silence. Then a click. He hung up. 3 days passed. I focused on work, declined to comment on the dozens of voicemails he left, ranging from rage to begging. One evening, I was organizing case files when there was a knock at the front door. I peered through the window. Nathan. He looked nothing like the smug man I had last seen. His shirt was wrinkled, hair disheveled, jaw tight. I opened the door a sliver. We're not doing this here, I said. I need to talk to you. Then find another lawyer. That's how this works. He stepped forward. I can't find one. They all say no the moment they hear your name. Imagine that, I said. Almost like there are consequences to lying and cheating and underestimating your opponent. He glanced behind him, as if to make sure no one was watching, then lowered his voice. Please, Isabel, don't take the business. Take the house, the cars, the stocks, just not the company. You know what it means to me. Of course I do, I said, voice like glass. That's why I'm taking it. He slumped slightly, the fight draining out of him. I made a mistake. Which one? I asked. The cheating? The prenup? Or the part where you told me I wasn't worthy of your last name? He had no answer, just stood there, looking like a man watching his empire burn in slow motion. I shouldn't have listened to her, he mumbled. I nodded. There it is. Blame the mistress. Classic Nathan. She said she'd leave if I didn't divorce you. She said I'd be happier. And now? She left anyway. Said she doesn't date broke men. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not a mocking laugh. Not cruel. Just release. So let me get this straight. You threw away a 12-year marriage, committed adultery, tried to hide it, and are now surprised that your gold-digging mistress bailed when the gold ran out. He nodded, shame flickering in his expression. I'd never seen him look this small. Nathan, I said, opening the door just a little wider, not to let him in, but to lean closer. You put the clause in the prenup. You wanted to prove you were transparent. Now that clause is taking half your company. That's not sabotage. That's you losing to your own arrogance. He blinked, and for the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. You thought I'd cry, beg, disappear, I whispered. But you forgot I'm a lawyer. I don't run from fights. I win them. Then I closed the door, and behind it I let out a long breath. Not out of sadness, not anger, just control. I wasn't done. Not yet. By the end of that week, Nathan had spiraled from smug businessman to frantic has-been. Word was spreading quietly, among colleagues, among lawyers, among mutual friends, that something had gone very wrong with the golden boy of Beacon Square. He'd burned his credibility, And now, even his charm was starting to crack. I got another knock at the door. This time at night. I was already in my robe, brushing out my hair in the bathroom mirror. I almost didn't answer, but something told me this was going to be the last time I needed to see him in person. I opened the door just enough to see him standing there under the porch light, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "I just want to talk," he muttered. I sighed. "You've been doing nothing but trying to talk. You fired the first shot, remember?" He stepped inside without waiting. I didn't stop him. Let him have his 5 minutes of groveling. "I've tried every firm in the city," he said. "They all turned me down. Some said you were too close. Others just didn't want the drama." I sat on the arm of the couch and crossed my arms. "So now I'm the villain because no one wants to clean up your mess?" "You're manipulating everything," he snapped. "You're sabotaging this." I laughed. "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you under the impression that people need my permission to walk away from clients like you? You lied to your lawyer. You withheld a prenup. You committed adultery. And you acted like I was just some pretty ornament. This isn't sabotage, Nathan. This is gravity. You're falling, and for once there's no one to catch you." He was breathing heavily, hands shaking. "Please, Isabel. You know I've built that business from scratch. It's all I have left. You don't need half of it." "But you promised me half," I said. "You signed it. It's not my greed, Nathan. It's your signature." "It was just legal fluff. We didn't think it would come to that." "No, you didn't think I'd fight back." He paced the living room like a caged animal, then suddenly stopped and looked at me, eyes glassy, voice cracking. "Look, I put my relationship on hold. I told her we needed space. I thought maybe we could talk. Maybe we could try again. We had good years, Isabel." And there it was. The desperation. The delusion. "You're asking me to come back to a marriage you already set on fire?" I said, stunned but not surprised. "I was scared. I got caught up. I wanted more. And now that you've lost more than you imagined, you want to rewind." He nodded, slowly, as if trying to will me into agreement. I shook my head almost gently. "Nathan, no. You don't want me. You want leverage. You want safety. But I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your foundation anymore." He tried one more time. "You're not like this. You're not cold." "No," I said, standing. "I'm precise. I've spent 12 years keeping the peace, swallowing words, bending backward. This is the first time I'm standing still. And guess what? It's not cold. It's freedom." He swallowed hard, eyes darting around the room like he was searching for something. Maybe the version of me that used to ask what's wrong when he walked in the door with that same defeated look. "She's gone," I said quietly. "You made your point," he whispered. "You win." I leaned in. "Nathan, this isn't a game. Winning would mean I wanted to keep score. But this is just balance being restored." He left soon after. No more grand speeches. No more begging. Just a man walking out the door of a life he shattered with his own ego. And as I watched him go, I didn't feel sad, or angry, or vindicated. I felt clear. I turned off the porch light, locked the door, and picked up my phone. It was time to hire a lawyer, not for battle, but for closure. I didn't choose someone flashy. No TV lawyers, no courtroom celebrities. Just a sharp, methodical litigator from my own firm named Karen Bishop. Someone who didn't flinch under pressure and didn't take calls after 6 p.m. I handed her everything. The prenup, the affair documents, the financial records. I didn't want Nathan hearing from me again. From that point on, I spoke only through her. Nathan tried to drag things out, claimed the prenup might be invalid, said the photos were out of context, hired one lawyer, then another, then another. None lasted more than a week. The moment they saw what I had in my arsenal and who I was, they backed out politely. Some didn't even give him a reason. One even emailed me privately, "You've already won." He just hasn't accepted it yet. When he finally stopped trying to fight, he started trying to plead. Emails started arriving. Then, handwritten letters. Let's talk. We used to laugh together. I remember when we couldn't sleep without touching feet. The nostalgia was predictable and utterly useless. Then one afternoon, a messenger knocked on my door. He was holding a small box. Inside was Nathan's wedding band and a folded note. Take it all, just not the business. Please. I didn't respond. I forwarded the message to Karen. She sent a final settlement proposal with a clean list. Half the business, immediate divorce finalization. No alimony, no further negotiation. It was our best and final offer. The prenup didn't require negotiation. It guaranteed entitlement. 3 days later, he showed up again. This time he didn't knock. Just stood on the sidewalk, staring at the windows of my brownstone like a man looking into a museum of someone he used to know. I opened the door only enough for my voice to reach him. What do you want now, Nathan? He looked exhausted, pale, like the fight had been replaced by a hollow nothing. I just thought you'd be the one person who wouldn't destroy me, he murmured. I didn't destroy you, I said. You wrote your own ending. You just forgot I was holding the pen. He stared at me, mouth open, no words. You said I wasn't interesting, I reminded him, that I didn't fit your empire. But guess what, Nathan? I am the empire now. He walked away without another word. And this time, I didn't even bother watching him go. By the end of that week, he'd signed everything. Half the company was legally mine. Karen handled the paperwork with brutal elegance. Nathan had to put out a press release to explain his personal restructuring. Investors weren't happy. And the cherry on top? His mistress was now completely gone, vanished, blocked him on everything. Rumor had it she was seen cozying up to one of his business rivals at a gala he wasn't invited to. The man who had once made me feel small, average, and invisible was now watching his legacy slip through his fingers, while I thrived. I didn't touch his house or his cars. I didn't need to. The business was the heart of his pride, and I now owned half of it. He tried calling me one last time after the court finalized the split. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. You'll regret this one day, Isabel. You'll end up alone. I deleted it because the truth was I'd never felt more whole. After the ink dried on the final decree, I didn't throw a party. I didn't pop champagne or post a cryptic quote online like some passive-aggressive social media victory lap. No, I just exhaled, long deep, like I had been holding my breath for 12 years. The divorce was over. The business was split. My name was on every document that used to pretend I didn't exist. Nathan had gone quiet. No calls, no emails, no new lawyers, just silence. I could feel it like a vacuum around him. He was drowning, but this time I wasn't the life raft. I moved forward quickly. I hired a manager to oversee my share of the company, not because I didn't care, but because I was busy rebuilding my own life. I reopened my practice, took on fewer but higher profile clients, and spent more time in court than I had in years. It felt invigorating, like I was rediscovering a version of myself I'd put in a drawer just to make room for his ego. The brownstone, my once quiet retreat, became a place of motion again. I repainted the kitchen, replaced the old blinds, bought a real espresso machine. My mornings started with the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of jazz playing low through the speakers. No more cold silences, no more slammed doors. Just me, at peace. But Nathan? He was unraveling. The mistress was gone. His reputation in the tech health world had taken a hit after news spread that he lost half his company to a prenup violation. He tried to secure a loan to buy me out, but he had already drained his reserves during the legal battle. Investors backed away, quietly. His board began voting without him. Eventually he was asked to step down. He sold the house to cover legal debts, moved into a rented condo in Cambridge. Last I heard, he was trying to start over, rebranding, repackaging, repitching. But the glow was gone. No one wanted to fund a fallen star. especially not one who couldn't even keep his personal life from imploding. Sometimes I'd walk past his old building on my way to court, just to remind myself how much I survived. I never stopped or looked inside. I didn't need to. The building was still standing, but I wasn't the one crumbling anymore. I never spoke to him again, and I never regretted it. Because here's the thing, Nathan thought I was the mistake. He thought I was the woman he settled for until someone better came along. He thought I was the burden weighing down his potential. But in reality, I was the firewall. I was the structure that held him upright for years. And the moment I walked away, he collapsed under the weight of his own ambition. Now, people recognize me not as his ex-wife, but as Isabel Monroe, a lawyer who held her ground, a woman who didn't burn down the house, just took her half of it and built a better one. I live differently now, not extravagantly, just honestly. I don't explain myself anymore. I don't shrink to make anyone comfortable. And I certainly don't apologize for protecting what I've earned. There's peace in knowing you were right, but there's power in knowing you never needed to be loud about it. Nathan once said I wasn't interesting, that I didn't belong in his world, that I was just another chapter in his story. Funny how life works. Turns out I was the whole plot.